welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be Bookmas Day 2. So welcome if you're new here, and hello if you are not. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you have not watched Bookmas Day 1, please go ahead and click the link down below in the description box, because that is the playlist where I am going to have all of the Bookmas videos for this year. I'm so excited, and if you don't know, this is my first year doing Bookmas, so I'm so excited to do this. Today's video is going to be my book wrap up for the past few months. So I have not done one since August. So the months you're going to be getting in today's video are September, October, and November. So these are going to be books I've read from the last few months, and I'm just going to be giving you my honest opinion and what I thought the book was about and how I felt about the book. Of course, my review, and at the end of this video I'm going to be giving you my stats that I currently have as of right now in terms of goals and all that good stuff. So that's what we're going to get into in today's video. So let's just go ahead and get into it, because there's a lot to talk about. First, we're starting with September. That is where I left off last on my wrap-ups. So I only read 2 books in September, starting with Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Now this is a beautiful Japanese literature that has been translated into multiple languages, and of course my first language is English, so here we are with this book. My rating on this book was a 5-star. I truly love this book, but looking back on it, I don't really think this was a 5-star, to be honest with y'all. I would probably give it a 4.5, actually, realistically. This wasn't like all-time favorite, like the best book ever written, honestly. It was a mystical book, so it kind of had some futuristic details in there. It was stories about multiple people. I truly enjoyed this. I read this a lot when I was like sick and stuff like that, so this book was just getting me through. It was a nice little cozy read for fall time. I thought this was a beautiful book, and it really did what it needed to do, and I truly thought this was a good book. It talked about some true love, loss, traumas, and stuff like that, family, relationships, all of that good stuff was in here. It was beautiful, and sometimes you just want one more day, or sometimes you just want to go back in the future and change things, but we all know that we cannot do that. So, you know, this book was truly heartbreaking, and it just shed light on the things that we truly go through on a day-to-day that we have to deal with, and sometimes we may not want to deal with them, but we truly have to, and we have to come to terms with a lot of stuff that may not suit us all the time, and we just have to deal with it. And this was truly heartbreaking. It had a lot. Even though this was a fiction, I feel like this could truly be seen as a lot of realistic experiences that can happen in your day-to-day. This was a beautiful book. So I will say it was a 4.5. I won't say it was a 5-star, so I'll probably change that on Goodreads. But yeah, I really love this book. I think I would recommend this to people who are looking for multiple storylines and different relationships and different, you know, paths and past. I would definitely look into this. And like I said, I love the futuristic aspect in here, like that feeling that you want to change something, and sometimes you just can't do that, and you truly can't change the things you say, the things you do, because at the end of the day, when it happens, it happens. You just have to be careful on a lot of stuff that you say to people, you do to people, because you never know when that's going to come back and bite you in the behind. So yeah, I thought this was a beautiful book. So, second book I read in September was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and y'all already know I'm about to say it all again, part 2. I love this woman. Her writing is beautiful every single time. It's lyrical, it's magical. It makes the characters seem so real. And y'all, I just finished watching the series like 2 days ago. Ooh, what's it, Chef's Kiss? I literally felt the show. Like, I felt the characters, I felt every aspect. I loved it all. It was beautiful. The songs, the music, ooh, the singers, can we talk about it? Like, it was so great. I was like, oh my gosh. And y'all already know what I rated this, right? 5 stars. There truly are no ifs and buts about this book right here. This was great. I love Daisy's story and how she went into some things when she was younger and wasn't supposed to be in it, and then like the story of the Six and how they came to be, and truly to get the behind of the story, because you have to look deep to see that this book is not what you think it's about, low-key. So I was really like shocked by the plot twist in the end. It was like, what? I was not expecting that. Like, that's crazy. That's all I'm gonna say, because it was a twist for me. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was like, ooh. And then I cried my eyes out, of course, and it was just so beautiful. And then when I watched the show, oh my gosh, I literally cried the last 2 episodes. Like I couldn't handle it. It was so sad. I'm gonna cry thinking about it again. But it was so beautiful. Oh my god, it was so good. This was about a lot of stuff. It dealt with some drug abuse is one of the things. So if you feel like you have a lot of trauma with that or something like that, I would recommend going into this like full warned about that first and foremost, because I feel like a lot of people feel that that's a spoiler. I'm gonna tell you off the bat, that is something that you need to know if you're gonna feel like you're gonna be triggered or anything like that before going into this book. And there's also gonna be some other stories like sexual assault and stuff like that. So look up trigger warnings before you read this book. I full warn you, there is no trigger warning list here, and most people won't tell you that there are trigger warnings, but I'm going to tell you it is. So please look them up before you read this book. Anyhow, this book was really good, and I thought it was a beautifully written story about 7 people. Seven people? I don't remember. It's like 7 people. And then like everybody has their own story, everybody has their own background, but I truly love the dynamic between Daisy and Billy and Camilla and Billy and, you know, Karen. I love Karen. Like, let me tell y'all, I love Karen. There is a lot of stuff in here. I do full warn you though, please do look up trigger warnings. There's a lot of stuff talked about in here. Their stories are magnificent, and I could read this again truly. And like I said, I watched the show. Oh, the show just added to it. Like I felt like, wow, this is so good, and I just could not stop crying. It was so beautiful. So I definitely highly recommend it, but like I said, tread lightly. Alrighty guys, so moving on into October, I only read 1 book because life was very much lifing in October. I'm not kidding. I was literally going through the biggest slump of everything. Truly, I was going through it. We just not gonna talk about it, but I read 1 book, and that's all that matters. So I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I thought this was a beautiful book, and it was very interesting. I thought this was really cool how this was written. I loved this book. I actually mostly audio read it. That's the only way I was going to get through this book in October, because there was no way I was going to make it through if I read it by myself. I loved it. It was great. It was amazing. It was articulate. It was intellectual. Like, it was something that I never thought I'd read or pick up, but I won't be continuing this series because I didn't really think it was going to be as boring as it was, low-key. It wasn't that it was like too boring, but I feel like I kept getting lost because there were so many different characters involved and everything. I still gave this book a 4-star. I thought it was still great. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't my taste, and that's all that was. And that's all that was, I promise. It's not a bad book. It's a good book. It still is a wonderful book. I just don't think it's for my taste. I won't be continuing the story. I thought it was great though. I love the bumblebee like aspect in there. I think his name was Bumblebee. Bartleby? What is his name? Bumblebee. Bumblebee is his name. I loved him. He was an amazing character. I thought he was cool. Kind of crazy. There's also some plot twist in here as well. We love plot twists. I love plot twists. That's all I know. And I just thought this was a really cool book. I just never thought I'd pick up something that was about fairies. And this one was, well, not particularly about fairies, but like it was about like writing about fairies. And that is what's her name? I literally can't remember. Emily Wilde. Oh my God, guys. That's so sad. Anyway, Emily writes about fairies from different places. I could not articulate any of these words or places to you if I wanted to. I had to audiobook this because if I didn't, I wouldn't understand anything that was being said. I kept trying to read it by myself. Every time I went in there, I was like, I don't remember where this is set, but it's like, I can't even say. I don't remember where, but it's another language actually. So it's like another language incorporated into it. And then there's like little footnotes about different fairies and stuff like that. So it's basically her book, and this is really cool. I really thought this was amazing. So I don't think it was horrible. It just didn't suit my taste as much as I wanted it to. It kind of bored me a little bit in the middle since it was a lot of stuff going on, but it's still pretty good. And I thought it was a good book. So it let me get through it. That's all I know. I brought all the rest of the books up here to tell y'all I didn't read nothing. Moving on into November. I brought all the rest of the books up here to tell y'all I didn't read nothing. Except for a couple of these. So let's just pick out the one I did read out of this whole pile. I did start Love to Love You. I started it. I got 44 pages in. Have I read it since I started it? No. Now, it's not because it was boring. It's just because I haven't had time, and it's truly not my fault. So no, I didn't read any of these books, by the way. I just put them up here to be a show off, you know. Anyways, the book I did finish first in November was The Souls of Lost Lake. Like I told you I was going to finish. This is the first time I said I was going to finish a book and actually finished it. I've never done that before. I finished this one and I was so happy because this book was so good. This one kept me encapsulated the whole time. Let me say it one more time. The whole time I was here. I was here. I was not anywhere else. I love this book. I audio read this a little bit, and then I also read it on my own. When I started it, I was reading it by myself. Then as school started getting a little bit busier, I started audio reading it, and then I just went off and on that because it was a lot going on. This is the, like, audiobooks are saving me. Guys, audiobooks are literally saving my life because I would not be able to get through any book if it was not for audiobooks, because y'all, it's a hard knock life in school, okay? So it's just crazy. I rated it a 5-star, if you can't tell. This is by Jamie Jo Wright, if I haven't said the author by now. I'm sorry. I love this book. I thought this was amazingly written. I couldn't have asked for more. The plot twist, the storyline. This is basically like a murder mystery slash ghost story slash Christian book slash everything. I don't even know what else to say. There's a lot of love, trauma, and relationships, and torments, and breaking up, and heartbreaks, and all kinds of stuff are in this book. I cried a lot. I was happy. I was angry. I was shocked. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was trying to pinpoint people, and I couldn't have been more shocked by the ending. I literally kid you not, I could not have been more shocked about the ending. I kid you not, you don't know about like the end until you get to this, like, this far into the book. Like, I read over 350 pages. 350 pages. That's how hard this book had me hanging on by, okay? And then once I finally got to the end to find out who actually did what they did, I couldn't have been more shocked. I was literally in shock. I was like, bro, there's no way this is happening. Like, this is crazy. And it literally was, because I was not expecting that. I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's crazy. And little did I know, I was getting shocked. Okay, so this was really good. That's all I gotta say. It did what it was supposed to do. This was so good. This book had everything I ever wanted in a murder mystery, plus it was Christianized. So I just feel like this was the best book I read in November. I think this is like one of the tops. I don't even know. Like, I don't know. Like, this is so beautiful. This was so good. It had everything in it I could ask for, and can I say much more? Like, I'm literally gonna rant about this book so much, like, at the end of the year. Like, this was good. This was great. I loved it. So like I said, I rated this a 5-star, and I recommend this to all. And there's not too much going on in here. Another book I read that was not actually on my November TBR, but was one that I got from my local library. I do have a library card. I am a library sis, so I did get one. And this is called Last Things by Marissa Moss. I literally could have bawled my eyes out to this one. I read it in like 2 days. It was so good. You could read this in one day, but I didn't have time. I read it at like one point, then I read the rest. This had a lot of topics in there, and one of them being ALS. This book talked about ALS, and it is a disorder that can kill you like in the span of maybe 2 months to a year, depending on the treatment you go through, stuff like that. I can't remember like what the full name is of ALS, but it's a heartbreaking disease for family, friends, and loved ones, and all those who care about you. And this book had dealt with that situation. Losing someone who is sick can damage not only the relationships you build, but the whole family can be involved. Like, even the kids were being traumatized and tormented by this disease as well. So the family had to deal with a lot of things, and especially Marissa, just having to deal with all of the things that happened in her life. It was really heartbreaking to read because it was just like a lot of hard things going on. Watching someone die, or watching someone go through treatments, or watching someone go through all of these things that you can't really truly know what's going on inside their head, even if they told you, you know, like, it's that heartbreaking. It's that sad. So I rate all memoirs 5 stars. Most people don't rate them. Like, most booktubers actually don't read memoirs. I usually just rate them a 5-star. For the last book, of course, I got a little bit into the Christmas spirit. This book was so beautiful and lovely. It was well written. I loved it. It was an audio read actually, because I don't have this book, but I do low-key want to get the paperback. This was beautiful. It's called Come Home for Christmas. Jesus is calling you back to the greatest story ever told. And it just really branched on the topic of Jesus is the reason for the season. And I think people should always leave Jesus in Christmas, because you can't have Christmas without Christ. Literally. And so, you know, people have to remember that Christmas isn't about just giving. It isn't about the financial things that we go through. It isn't about the, you know, all of these crazy other things. You should always focus on Jesus at the end of the day, because the story of Jesus's birth is the reason that we have a season where we give presents anyway. The reason why family has to come together and love each other, the reason why churches put on these plays and stuff like that, because it's so beautiful, and it's the reason that Christmas came to be. I feel like it's such an important part of a Christian's life. Not saying that you have to, but as a Christian myself, I feel like it's very important, very, very important to keep Christ in Christmas. And so I think that this book showcased that in every way possible. It was also a memoir kind of story. Of course, I rated it a 5-star. This was beautiful and I couldn't have asked for more. This book was truly about how Jesus can save you in the hardest times, because during Christmas, there's so much going on. Christmas is such a stressful time of the year, which it shouldn't be. Jesus came here to bring joy to the world. However, the day that we're supposed to be most joyful ends up being the most stressful and the most depressing one of the year, which is kind of sad. We've lost the meaning of what things were. Well, I just think this was a great story about that. Christmas time is such a time of the year that we're literally thinking about everything. We're thinking about the sicknesses that come during Christmas. We're thinking about financial stability, responsibilities, how we're going to pay for somebody's presents, whose house we're going to, whose family members we got to go to, family members we actually don't like, argue with, you know, when instead Christmas should be the time that people come together, love each other, and spread joy amongst each other and keep Christ in the middle of it. Because if you keep Christ in the middle of Christmas and all of this stress, there will be so much more joy. I just thought that this was a beautiful story about all of those things, and I loved it. Like I said, I rated it a 5-star. This was kind of like another memoir. I don't know why I was in a memoir mood kind of thing going on in November, but I loved it. It was beautiful. So that was all of the books I read in the last few months. That was 6 books in total, which is so amazing because that brought my goal up to 33 out of the 35. So I only have 2 more books to read before the end of the year, which I am definitely going to complete. And I am 1 book ahead of schedule due to the book I read yesterday. So I'm super excited. I'm so happy that my goal is doing what it's supposed to do, and actually that I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time checking books off my list and just reading books that I love and want to love. So I'm glad that I'm even getting my library down to a count, and that way I can buy more books, because low-key a lot of my library is being read, but I want to read as much of my library as possible before I buy more books. So I've been just trying to read a lot of my books lately. So yeah, there wasn't too many stats, honestly. Next, at the end of the year, you'll get like the full stats, you know what I'm saying? Like you'll get the full down-packed everything. But as of right now, this is where we're at. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you made it all the way to the end of today's video, comment down below apple emoji for apple cider, because I love apple cider. If you made it all the way to the end of today's video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time I post a new video. And stay tuned for Bookmas, so please go ahead and hit that notification bell for real, and make sure you have all notifications on, so that way you don't miss a day of Bookmas. And if you do ever miss a day, again, I have a playlist linked on my channel as well as in the description box down below. Please don't forget to be true and be you, and I love you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Mwah.